How long should it take to lose weight on keto? So everybody is different, so the rate of weight loss is going to be different depending on the person. So let's talk about a few of those factors. So to start off, let's talk about what generally happens on the scale when we first start a ketogenic diet. So when you start a ketogenic diet, when you lower your carbohydrate intake, it tends to cause your body to drop a lot of water. So you may notice in the first day or two that the scale drops a good amount. That is typically mostly water. And so we want to make sure that we kind of flush that out, so to speak, in terms of what we're paying attention to over the long term. So you may notice in the first week that you lose a large amount of weight on the scale and then it kind of tapers off as you go. That's completely normal. So you just need to make sure that you're aware of that, right? In terms of rate of weight loss, that's going to be dependent on a few different factors. The main one is going to be your current body composition. So how much body fat do you have? How much weight do you have to lose? Typically, the more weight you have to lose, the faster the process is going to be in the beginning. And as you lose that weight, it's probably going to taper off. And if you don't have much weight to lose, then it's probably going to be a slower process from the start. So I like to think about this in terms of rate of weight loss. If you want to put some numbers behind it, typically a good rate of loss is going to be 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So that allows us to put a percentage based off of your body weight, not just an arbitrary number like 1 to 2 pounds per week, because that is going to line up with where you're starting at, right? So 0.5 to 1% of body weight per week is typically a good guideline for a good rate of loss without it being too fast in the sense of you won't be able to keep up with it, or too slow where you're kind of losing motivation. So that's something to think about in terms of if you're looking to put numbers behind it, but the overall thing to realize is that the more weight you have to lose, the faster the process is probably going to be, and then it's going to taper off as you go. So another factor that plays into your rate of weight loss is going to be your overall health. So if you have any, underlying metabolic issues or hormonal issues, or you're suffering from, severe insulin resistance or things like that, that is going to play a role in how fast you lose weight. So this is a little bit more complex in the sense of, everybody has different things that are going on. There's all different types of, metabolic and hormonal rabbit holes that we can go down. But in general, if the healthier you are, the healthier your cells are, the healthier your body is, the more insulin sensitive you are, that is going to make things a little bit easier in the sense of your body, wanting to lose weight, right? The more things are in check, the more your body's gonna be like, okay, I'm in a good place. I can, I'm safe. I can, focus on losing body fat versus focusing on, dealing with the hormonal issues, dealing with the metabolic issues and things like that. So that is a whole rabbit hole to go down, but that is something to think about. The healthier you are, typically the easier it is going to be to lose weight and the faster it's going to be. The next thing to think about is how active you are. So this is gonna play a big role in the rate of weight loss, because we know that if you are more sedentary and you're kind of just sitting around all day, you're not really moving, you're not gonna be quote unquote, burning a lot of energy versus someone who is active all day, they're moving around a lot, they're paying attention to maybe their step count throughout the day, they're gonna be burning more energy, and that in itself is going to lead to faster weight loss. So thinking about, what you're doing throughout the day, how active you are, I like to give my clients a step goal to shoot for each day, just to make sure that we're paying attention to that. So being aware of your activity is super, super important, especially if your goal is weight loss or fat loss. And that in itself can help you to speed things up if you're going from more sedentary to adding in just more movement. It doesn't necessarily need to be exercise, but just more movement in general. So walking more, parking further away at the grocery store, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, all of these little things add up over time, and that can help speed up the rate of loss. The next thing is thinking about how consistent you are with your plan, right? So there tends to be a time where we are kind of following a plan and we're super excited in the beginning, and then we tend to fall off a little bit and then get back on it. So consistency is going to play a huge role in your rate of loss, because the more consistent you are, the faster things are going to go, right? So just being consistent and sticking to the plan over the long term is going to be, is going to speed up your rate of loss. And when I say consistent, that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. No one is perfect, but it just means, if you get off track, if you, go off track one one day, just making sure that you get back on it the next day and not dwelling on it is going to be the best thing you can do to keep that rate of loss going at the pace that you want it to go. So there are other factors involved, but those would be the main ones. And I also want you to think about, in terms of rate of loss, we're talking about the scale, right? We're talking about using the scale as a gauge of losing weight. But we also need to realize that the scale is not the end all be all. There are definitely other factors that are involved in terms of, if you're losing body fat, right? So tracking, taking progress pictures, tracking body tape measurements, tracking, how you're feeling throughout your day, how your performance is going in the gym, all of these factors play into your success over the long term. So making sure that you're not getting too caught up on the scale is gonna be super important. And we also need to make sure that we're not getting caught up on the daily scale fluctuations. Your weight is going to fluctuate on a daily basis for so many different reasons. It's going to fluctuate depending on how much water you drank one day, your sodium intake, your electrolyte intake can influence the scale weight. If you, ate out at a restaurant and you maybe had some more sodium from the food in the restaurant that you're not used to, if you are a female and you're, on your cycle, that can influence your scale weight. If you're super stressed out, if you had a horrible night of sleep, there's so many different factors that can affect, what the scale does on a daily basis. So we need to make sure that we're looking at the scale. If we're going to use it, we're using it strategically. And when I say that, we're looking at that weekly average. That's going to be what makes the most difference over the long term. So don't pay attention to the daily fluctuations in the scale. If you're going to use the scale to track your rate of loss, make sure that you're paying attention to the weekly average or the bi-weekly average, because that's going to show you the long-term trend of what's happening, not the daily fluctuations. The daily fluctuations do not matter at all. So pay attention to the weekly average trends and the long-term trends over time. That's going to be your best bet. And also pay attention to other factors. So progress pictures, how you're fitting in your clothes, body tape measurements, things like those are going to give you a better picture of how your body is changing and how your body composition is changing. Because like I said, it's not just weight that you want to lose body fat. And so taking measurements and paying attention to the other factors that I mentioned is going to go a lot farther than just paying attention to the scale. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn more about nutrition, fitness, or metabolic flexibility, you can check out our website, metflexlife.com. There you can find our podcast, MetFlex and Chill, our nutrition and exercise programs, our latest blog posts, free recipes, and much more.